Good morning. The time is 9:02 a.m. I'm going to call this B County Commissioners Court regular term meeting to order. Today is Monday, September 14th, 2020. We are located at B County Courthouse, Commissioners Courtroom number 110, 105 West Corpus Christi Street, Beeville, Texas 78102. If everybody would please stand and join Mr. Willow in our morning prayer.
Thank you, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Lord, we come to you today with many blessings. Thank you for just bringing your hand down on us in B County. Thank you so much for the rain. Thank you so much for the opportunity to serve you in everything we do. Lord, we thank you for everything that is going to transpire today, be it good or bad, whatever we need, we know it's part of your plan. We ask all these things in Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the Texas Pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. How far we have come, I'll say we, how far I have come since January in reciting the Texas Pledge. Kudos to me. Good morning, Commissioner. How are you, sir?
Great.
Thanks in no small part to the pledge being printed and taped to our wall. Like to recognize visitors. See Mr. Bamer with Halo Flight is in the audience today. Mike Tyran is in the audience today from Christus Spawn. Ms. Mix is in the audience today with the Historical Association, correct? Historical Commission. Ah, my apologies. Dr. Phillips, I'm so sorry I didn't say hello to you. I didn't have a picture to recognize it, and only when I sat down I said, oh, I bet I know who the one person in the audience I don't know is. So thank you for being here this morning. We're looking forward to hearing you speak. And we have Ms. Toms as well, who's here for the ambulance agreement. Do we have any other visitors, non-county employees, not regular folks? I don't see any, so thank you all, everybody else is here as well. We're going to start with agenda item number 5 now, Commissioners Court opening remarks. If I am correct, I believe it
Starts over here.
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
It was Commissioner Haggard.
Last time you started, so I will start.
Yes, sir.
Sorry for being a little late. Anyway, this week has been, or this time has been kind of busy. The judge and I, Orlando from the bank and BAP, and Jaime from the BDA has been there. Also, Stephanie Moreno, all met down at the Dynamic Steel Corporation. Got to tour their facility. For those of you who's ever driven to Corpus, it's huge. I will tell you, it's bigger when you're on site. The buildings look huge out from the road, and they are really tall. Some of the highlights should be putting, correct me if I'm wrong or not, 3 million tons of steel in rolls coming out of that plant a year. They have a electrical site being built there. AEP is building one, and they're building a second one there to supply them with the necessary electricity. Judge, they told me, what, $1 million a month?
I think that's what they're spending.
A little over $1 million a month for an electric bill. So those of you that think you're paying too much for your electricity, go talk to them. So far, 300 people have been hired. 3,500 were interviewed or actually took out applications. And I'll leave some of it for the judge too. They, quite frankly, did not even know B County existed. Nothing has been said from anywhere north of that plant. They're basically talking all about the south end. They do know about the north end now, thanks to the judge and our ex-judge, our old judge, and Jaime and Orlando. All of them have put in a word for us. Land, people are supposed to be getting together with them. Other than that, it's just been normal business, running around looking at roads and talking to people about the up and coming wind farm. also on my end of the county, so with that, I'll get to the commission.
This past 2 weeks, we've had the water well is complete now at the expo, and they've got that set up and done. And, so I've got that, and then I sat on the interview board for a VAP for a candidate, and I do believe they have a candidate now that they're gonna hire. So I sat on one of the boards, and then the rest of them were just calls, potholes and tall grass on the corners, and that's it. Asked them to do it.
Several things in the precinct. We're still waiting to hear back on our collection station at Toledo. I don't think we've gotten a return receipt on the mail yet, so that's still up in the air. Commissioner Farias, Commissioner Salazar and I all attended a virtual conference last week. I know that there were some folks in the auditor's office and the tax assessor's office that were also there, tax collector's office. In my opinion, it was excellent. I'm not big on driving and spending a night away from home, and to be able to do a conference, a 3-day conference on a computer is interesting. The only drawback is at most conferences, you learn more during the breakouts than you do during the conference. But this conference was good. The thing I liked about it, there were probably 1,000 participants, saved over $1 million to the taxpayers and not having to travel. You could interact with the conference attendees, little chat room on the right, and if there was a person that was given a talk, you could send them virtual questions and they were answered during the time you were there. They were right there in front of your computer. The comptroller was there, several state reps and senators were there. In my opinion, it was good. I told my wife, I said, I'm not quite as tired as I am when I go to a conference and it's 3 days and you're there at night and you're getting up early, but it was good. I wouldn't recommend they're all done that way, but this was good. Some other things, the solar folks in North B County are moving forward with their project. I've been contacted. The solar people build the project, then they find an entity to buy the electricity. The entity that's going to buy the electricity is called a power purchaser, and they have contacted us, if you will, B County through the precinct commissioner. They want to put some money into the community. I've given them 2 projects to look at. One of them, I'm asking for $50,000 for a cover over the 1874 jail. The second one is $25,000. We're asking for improvements to the Pettis Community Center. They may or may not fund either. They may fund part of it, but that's what I've asked them to look at. The other thing that's good news, this Commissioner's Court submitted several items for flood projects, and we just received word a few days ago that they're moving to the next step. It's going to be up to the court to decide, do we move forward with them or not. But one of them that I think we're pretty excited about are early warning systems on creeks and culverts and stuff out in the county. You live out on a county road, and there's a low water crossing, sometimes you don't know it's flooding. These systems are solar powered. There'll be lights that come on. If it's finally approved and funded, it'll be good for the county. And on that, I'll pass to my colleague to the right.
Thank you, Commissioner Hewitt. I got with the AEP on a light project that's later on the agenda that we're gonna talk about. I also attended that conference, not attend, but I also participated in that conference that Commissioner Hewitt mentioned. The only thing I missed is the chance to win a door prize. But unfortunately, Commissioner Farias is the one that gets them all. Also, we supplying ourselves with pens and stuff we use at the office. That's when I, try to save the county money by getting supplies from the vendors that are out there. Other than that, normal stuff, and that was about it.
Thank you,
Normal
Commissioner.
business.
Thank you all for your reports. I'll give a brief report. I don't want to take up too much time, but I did join committee. I don't know why we're all laughing right now. I did give a politician a mic. I did join the B County group to go tour the Steel Dynamics plant. Like Commissioner Haggard said, it was really neat. The credit for that should go. I appreciate Commissioner giving me some credit for it, but really the credit for putting that together should go to Stephanie Moreno, and we really appreciate her doing that and reaching out to me and saying, hey, is this something you guys would be interested in? And like Commissioner Haggard mentioned, there are potential opportunities for industrial development business professionals, community leaders, individuals that are just in general interested in the development and progress of B County, that are willing to put the time and effort in to try to find and source opportunities to bring employment, growth, economic prosperity, independence, and diversity to B County. So it's fun. It's hard to get out and spend a morning just kind of doing a handshaking, glad handing, let me show you what we've got going on thing. But it's so important, it's so refreshing when you get out there and you kind of do see not only what people like the folks at Steel Dynamics are building in St. Pat County, but the interest and the attention and the insight that the folks that came with us on the trip had with respect to how that might be able to benefit B County. So it was a lot of fun. It was really interesting, and it is huge. It is a huge facility. They're building their own substation, right? So B County, we should be having a new substation built by AEP at some point in time called the Borglum Station in South Beeville. It hasn't been built yet. They haven't even broke ground yet. These guys are building 2 substations right now, which is crazy to think about the scale and scope of what they're actually doing out there. And AEP actually has contacted the county. They're already looking at routes out of those new substations to help power other areas and help improve their grid. And so there will be some a proposed route that could actually bring some of that power line into B County. It might not, I don't know yet. It's just early stages. Basically, when AEP decides they want to change how their paths go or create a new change, they have to go through a permitting process. And part of that process is they hire a big engineering firm who maps it out, looks at all the different tracts of property where houses are located, low water areas, roads, highways, infrastructure, and makes their best determination on proposed routes to go through. Thank you, man. So that's, Steel Dynamics and all the development in San Pat will continue to have some impact in B County, and the question is, can we make it positive and dynamic for B County? I spent a morning also up in Tilden. It was kind of fun. It was the first real chance I had to socialize with other county judges. I joined Judge Huff, Judge Teal, Judge Hedke from Karnes County, thank you. Judge Fowler from DeWitt and Judge Hurley from Atascosa County. We met with a gentleman by the name of Rod McSherry, who's with UTSA. He's, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure how he's a vice president. I don't know how broad that scope is, but he is in charge of this department that had created the Eagleford Coalition or Consortium many years ago. And they were coming back in. He's bringing new blood and new energy into this component of what UTSA does, and it was basically just a strategy session on what might they be able to provide to the counties that are tangentially situated in and around the Eagleford Basin, which we are. Unfortunately, we are one county south of where that oil, or beneficially, depending on your perspective with oil. So anyway, so his group, they can provide all kinds of data studies. They're basically grad students and undergrad who are looking at learning more, and as part of that learning process, they're looking for real world applications. So they're going to be looking at the Eagleford area on a region-wide basis, and I put them in touch with the city manager, Jaime at the BDA, and Mr. Vasquez, who's the chairman of the BAP, until they have an actual director. But it was pretty exciting and interesting, and free research is always good, operative on free. And that's about it. Everything else we can cover. We've got a big meeting today. It's going to be a very interesting meeting. I'm looking forward to it, and there's no reason for us not to just dive right in. So thank you all for your opening remarks. Very excited about you trying to see if the solar panel company wants to truly partner and provide some meaningful assistance to the county. So I really appreciate you putting that together and making that request to them, along with everything else that everybody's doing for the county. Moving on to agenda item number 6, do we have any members of the public who would like to comment? Anybody write anything down on the Nobody? To everybody that's out there watching, you're welcome to come and tell us what you think. We'd love to hear from you. If there are no public comments, we'll move on. Agenda item number 7. We'll speed up now. The following items are of an administrative nature. Commissioners' Court has been furnished documentation on each item, and all such items may be acted upon by one vote without being discussed separately unless requested by a commissioner or county judge.
Move to approve.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Ms. Cantu, do you have anything that we need to identify in this?
Yes, sir, did you want, well, I have a question on, the fencing at the tax office around the generator.
Okay, I just saw the word tax.
Cause it's at the tax office,
Okay, that clears that up.
and, yeah,
I saw
that's the
tax, and I said,
security,
we better check.
Oh.
yeah, that's the security, and that's what we call that area, the tax office, yeah.
Okay.
That was the generator
Just
fencing.
curious about the hospital charges.
Charter, we have 12 guaranteed, payments to the new, doctor, and that's,
Okay, that clears that up. Thank you, ma'am. It just, I didn't click on the name.
yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Ms. Cantu. Deliberate and consider action on the following items. Did I do it right? Yeah. Right. Agenda item number 8, project expenditure approval for Smith, Second, and Reed, June 2020 change order request, COR, ad services proposal number 1 for the Sheriff's Office in New Jail.
Approved, motion to approve with a comment.
Okay, motion and a second. Your comment, Mr. Whitman.
My comment, I read this item, and I want to read into the record some of the problems that they found. Incomplete or missing, this is $34,000 we're going to be paying, will be reimbursed. Incomplete or missing ductwork, equipment startups not properly performed, isolation dampers inoperable with burnout motors. This is a brand-new facility. Fans without power, dampers hitting the diffusers of ductwork, preventing them from opening. Fans running backwards, motor starters tripping. Multiple instances of missing balanced dampers or installed dampers found in a closed position. Improperly installed exhaust fans on roof curbs and missing diffusers. You know, I'm one of these people who always looks for the best. I appreciate this stuff being found. We had a company come in that did our commissioning of the jail. Being found before, we said, okay, we'll take it all just like it is. So it's being corrected, but we had some subcontractors, they were not from Beeville or Beeville County, that evidently they weren't too enthused with their work. And I'll leave it at that, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there any other comments, discussion?
Just to mention, it was, 34,620, and so we'll see that, budget amendment next to Commissioner's Court.
Okay. And I know the Sheriff's Office has been working overtime trying to handle the discovery of these. We're in the 11th inning. Are there 11 innings? So the game's been over for a couple hours, but we're still out there on the diamond. Yeah, we're not done yet.
Judge, if you could, one of the things that I found out a few days ago, we've been having a little humidity problem. What they found now is around the area where the roof, where the ceiling meets the wall, it wasn't sealed. So they're going back and doing that. So hopefully we'll find all these things before they all ride off into the sunset.
Yes, sir, this weekend they were, in my office, in the sheriff's office, there's that front wall. They had to get up in the ceiling and, exactly what you're talking about, it was never sealed. On a thermal video camera, you can see the heat rolling in.
Heat, humidity coming in.
Yes,
Those thermal cameras helped a bunch.
yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you guys for staying on top of it.
I just want to say, the fact that we're staying on top of it and finding all this, we're not going to have the same problem we had 25 years ago when we said, we're ready,
Yeah.
and our sheriff went, no, we're not, but we took it anyway. So I'm glad we're fixing all of this recently, so.
Well, and I appreciate our inspectors that we paid quite a bit of money on helping us find this and making sure it's done before they ride off in the sunset. So everybody's worked very, very hard, sir, and I appreciate the SO, the sheriff, and the chief deputy, and all of them for the work they've done.
So thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 9, PEA for Smith, Seckman, Reed, Inc., August 2020 COR ad services proposal number 2 for the Sheriff's Office in New Jail.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
This one is, 3,850, and that will also come next Commissioner's Court, a budget
Okay.
amendment.
And we anticipate that it would be reimbursement as well, or no?
Reimbursement from who?
I don't know.
Anybody?
Okay.
Somebody.
All right, fair enough. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 10, appoint B County representatives to the Workforce Solutions of Coastal Bend Adult Basic and Continuing Education Board.
Do we have the current one, or is it?
Is this the replacement for Dr. Queeg?
Did he ever come back to us? I'll just go ahead and appoint him.
Yeah, that'd be an idea, right?
That'd be
Superintendent.
I think he's, yeah, I think he's okay with it. This is Workforce Solutions Coastal Bend, obviously. The Coastal Bend region that they're in charge of is multi-county region. Here in B County, we actually have they have a physical location at Coastal Bend College. I think it's Dr. Queeg. Dr. Queeg recently resigned, moved up to South San Antonio, and we need to appoint somebody else for his seat. Workforce Solutions, Mr. Trevino actually suggested and asked if we would consider somebody, a dean level or higher from Coastal Bend College to get involved because of their physical location, being at CBC, and the value of Coastal Bend College providing them. Yeah, and so I reached out to Dr. Hoggard, and he engaged, and I'm 99% sure that he's comfortable with the appointment. So I don't know if anybody has any other ideas, or I'm happy to listen to them. That's kind of how it came about. So,
That's your motion, sir?
yeah, I'll make the motion to appoint Dr. Hoggard to this board. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception.
Second. Yeah.
I should have done that last night. Moving on to agenda item number 11, Expo request for use of pavilion from Real Inc. for their produce box distributions on October 22nd, 2020. Is this one still on? Okay.
Wait.
Yes, oh,
Wait.
We had some early conversation about this. I think she needs to get up and address the court.
yes, Ms. Warnick.
We're right in the middle of elections when this is going on.
Laura Warnick, Elections Administrator. Commissioners and Judge, I would ask that y'all decline this and maybe possibly set it up for another day. That is right in the middle of our early voting
Okay.
section out there. And even though that week we will be inside the auditorium, we are still going to have people driving through to deliver ballot by mail.
Oh,
With the
okay, so you will
extension
be using a,
It just, with the traffic flow and the confusion, I would really request that, maybe consider asking them to use it a different day.
okay. When does early voting end?
30th.
The 30th?
But we will be using the pavilion on the 3rd for election day.
Judge, one thing they may look at, if possible, is to move it to the Saturday after that Thursday.
We will have one Saturday voting on 17th, unless we get petitions for anything else, that's the only thing that's the only Saturday we'll be using.
They can find another place after the election.
Okay.
I agree.
So, we'll take no action on this unless there's any further discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Warnick, for bringing that to our attention. Thank you, Commissioner DeWitt. Yes, sir. All right, moving on, agenda item number 12, first contract renewal participating entity services agreement for the statewide automated victim notification service, SAVNS, between Apprice Inc. and B County. Yeah, this is housekeeping
Move to
yearly.
approve.
Got a motion and multiple seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 13, ambulance services agreement between Angel Care Ambulance, the city of Beeville, and B County. We see, Gabriel's here this morning, he's brought Mrs. Toms. Do y'all have anything you'd like to present initially, or?
I don't believe that y'all have questions, we're happy to.
Good.
Great,
I'll
thank
make
you.
a motion to approve with a couple of comments.
Sure.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Mr. Comment, somebody spent a lot of time going through this agreement and did some very good work on it. I don't know whether that was y'all or whether it was the judge or what, all these, that was you, Gabriel? No?
Okay.
Anyway,
Partially it was him, he said, you take care of it.
that's it. The thing of it is, what I saw was words that were really good 20 years ago, had been changed and updated. It's a good agreement. The one question I have, correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Auditor, the way it's worked in the past, we paid the city and the city paid them. Am I reading this correctly? We'll pay you directly now and not pay the city?
It's been like that for the last year or so.
Okay, so we're paying you directly. I never could understand why we paid the city, then the city paid y'all, because we could write our own checks.
I guess we were doing that then prior, but we have been paying, okay, because I know we pay for other items, so,
Good,
that's
good.
probably right.
I hate paying the second party and then relying on them to pay our part of something, so.
And our part has not increased, the budgeted amount is still correct, for this next, or this coming.
And the other comment is, as of today, I have not gotten one complaint about y'all's service, not one. So it could change 20 minutes from now, but you guys are doing good, and thank you very much for your service.
We appreciate all that you do for the county.
We really do. Other counties are very envious of us. I go to other counties and talk to their commissioners, what do y'all do for ambulance over there? No, we're okay, we don't want to mess it up. They try to run their own services, and they run into all kind of problems. And you guys do all the extra work. Ms. Ochoa does outstanding, work on the outside. The community service. And you guys are a real plus for our community and for our county. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gabriel, I concur with these two commissioners also, Madam Auditor. You mentioned that, the cost stayed the same as the previous year, so we want to thank you, I want to thank you for that, okay?
Anything else? I, of course, echo what everybody else is saying. We do appreciate everything you guys do, not only contractually, but beneficially for everybody in the community. And I'd like to thank your attorney, Ms. Thomas, for updating this contract and working through it. We made a few minor changes. I sent them all to y'all last night, so you could see them, but I think it's in good form. We have a motion and a second already, don't we?
Yes, and would this be pending the final approval of the county attorney? Has he looked at this, sir?
He hasn't, so yeah, I guess we would.
My motion would be, adjusted to, motion to approve pending final approval of the county attorney.
Have an amended motion. Who had the second? You have amended yours.
I'll amend my second.
Okay. Hearing that, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item, and y'all, if y'all want to leave, y'all can. You're welcome to stay.
I'm probably up next.
Thank you again. Y'all be safe out there. Thank you, Meredith. Agenda item number 14, safety and security light placement in B County at the intersection of Sandoval Street and Lehman Drive by American Electric Power. Commissioner Salazar, this is your.
Yes, sir. Prior to our budget workshop, I had a plan to bring this before the court after we adopted the budget, because I realized how many security lights we had already committed the county to. Unfortunately, unfortunately, we decided that next year we're not going to bring in any more security lights due to budget constraints. So we're still in this current budget. So I'm going to propose that we bring in one more security light, because I had indicated to those individuals in that area that I would present it to the court next fiscal year. But seeing that we're not going to take any security lights this coming fiscal year, I asked the judge if it was okay if I presented this one, and he said, we'll bring it before the court can decide. I spoke to AEP, and Mr. De Leon said not to worry about the charges to install the lights, which that's about $400 or $500, just the monthly fee like the rest of the lights. So having said that, I'm bringing this new security light proposal from Sandoval to Lehman Road to the court for consideration. I make a motion that we approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
And a comment, if I could.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Judge, this is one of those projects that, everybody benefits from. It's countywide. Every precinct has benefited. The people out in the, rural areas have benefited. The sheriff's office has benefited, the fire departments, police departments. After a while, people don't realize that these lights are there anymore because they're commonplace and they see them all the time. But I'm still having, if you will, the folks that are more in need of being able to see better at night tell me how great these lights are. So this has been something the court started a couple of years ago, and it's been fantastic for everybody. It really has.
Thank you, court members, for allowing me. Appreciate it.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 15, update and possible action regarding Halo Flight Expansion Project. Commissioner DeWitt, the floor is yours.
Judge, Commissioners, if you will, as you know, we've been working with Halo Flight on several projects. One that started, in the section was several years ago, was possibly putting a hangar to store their helicopters in during inclement weather. That is coming closer to fruition. We have Mr. Corey Bamer here from Halo Flight that's going to tell us where we are on that project. I think he may even have a $1 check for the court as a lease amount. He has a tentative lease agreement that we have not reviewed yet, so probably we'll take a look at that. And he has some renderings, I think, of the project. So, Mr. Bamer, the floor is yours, sir.
Great. I'm going to pass these to Commissioner Salazar, and the one that says original, my assistant, I think, put that together for the judge.
Thank you.
The last time I was here asking for money. This time I'm here delivering money.
Thank you, Mr. Ray.
Of course, and that's a token of our appreciation to B County. The lease agreement is open to review, and we hope that takes place as soon as possible. You can see on the renderings that this is how serious we are about, how serious we are about our, she made a copy of everything but the lease agreement, so.
We have a copy here.
Perfect. I don't, no, I'm fine. I wrote it, so I think I'll remember what.
I think you patterned it after the previous.
I did a bit, and then I updated some language, for the benefit of both parties. So I know that we're excited to expand our footprint. These renderings indicate the absolute cream of the crop. What happens with leadership and our board in fine tuning the actual final will be something that I will update the court with, as they make those decisions. But I wanted to have something to bring you today, to show you that Jennifer Rutter from the hospital is excited about this project. We know B County is excited about this project, and we're excited to invest in the community that we serve. So that's why I'm bringing these folders to you today. Section 1 mentions an Exhibit A, which is a land survey. Obviously, that doesn't exist yet. I feel pretty confident that Commissioner DeWitt and I can work on making that a reality. So, as I said, the check is a token of goodwill on our part, so that we are prepaid as of the date of the signature on the lease agreement that needs to be reviewed.
Mr. Bamer, now, correct if I'm wrong, the proposed placement of this facility is just north of your current facility where the helicopter pad is, one thing and another, in that large parking lot.
Yes,
And it's all been approved with Ms. Rucker in the hospital.
absolutely.
I don't think
I
that,
spoke with her right before she went into surgery. She said, get my approval now, because I don't know what I'm gonna feel like tomorrow.
And, what the court is looked at before was that general area. And, we thought it was being used for parking for the hospital, but it turns out it was contractor parking. So it is more or less open. And how is your funding coming for this facility?
Funding for this facility?
Yes, sir.
Well, we had hoped to earmark half of our funding from B County. I know we had some budget cuts that had to take operations.
So it looks good?
Oh, yeah.
Were you able to do any good with the folks down south on getting any funds from them?
Oh, the GLO?
No, the pipe company and Exxon. Have you had a chance to?
I have, I've got some emails out and some phone calls out, but that is as far as it's come. This is something that is of extreme importance to our board, and it is operationally, it has to happen. So what I was told from leadership, my boss, Tom Clausen, was that regardless of outside funding, it'd be great to have that happen. We're going forward with this.
And this will hold, what, 2 helicopters?
We'll hold 2 helicopters.
And it can also be used as a kind of a maintenance facility?
Yes.
So,
That's not what they want to call it. They want it to be the hangar.
well, it's for hurricane, I mean, you've got inclement weather coming, it gives you a place to put those helicopters.
Windstorm proof, we're working with, Bobby and Roland Beck and one of their, lead project managers, Kenny Serrata, and I think we're up to about 150, 160 miles per hour wind. So this is quite a structure.
So, and it'll be using local contractors. I know you
Absolutely.
mentioned Beck Brothers. so-
Absolutely.
And if everything clicks, when would we might see construction start?
I think the board's ready to move.
Okay,
As I said, I am not privy to the last meeting they have. So if they took my 100 by 100, aha moments, like the perfect storm, and they've made changes to that, then we'll have to have some adjustments done to the renderings, and we'll send those to you immediately.
what we did the last time, Mr. Bamer, we worked with Halo Flight and said, tell us what you need and put the stakes where you need it, and we will approve it. Because we don't know what you need.
Fantastic.
And Judge, it worked out very, very well. They have a hub here now. This is gonna anchor them even more. I would make a motion to approve the concept and the lease pending, your review and the county attorney's review, and with a motion to approve this to move forward.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and multiple seconds. Any further discussion?
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Banner, for putting this together. Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception. That's exciting. Agenda item number 16, update and action to designate 1874 original B County wooden jail as historic, thereby qualifying for grant and preservation funding. Commissioner DeWitt, this is your item, you have the floor, sir.
Judge, Commissioners, thank you very much. As you know, we've moved the 1874 jail several times. We've had fantastic work from the folks down in Stanton that did the moving for us. It's stabilized. The steps it has to go through is stabilization, preservation, and renovation. Okay, we've got it pretty much stabilized. It's on a concrete foundation. I talked to Mr. Hernandez with the Historical Commission in Austin about this. He said that for us to be able to qualify for grants, we need to have it declared historical by our local historical commission. I've reached out to them. Ms. Kay Mix is here today to talk to us about it. It's a lengthy process, and you heard me during the opening remarks talk about a cover over it. It's still out in the weather. The weather's not good for it. I realize it's over 100 years old, square nails and everything else. The roof that's on it is modern tin. It's in bad shape. The original split shingle roof is under, split cedar shingles are under that, but we need to have a cover over it while we're working on doing all this other. So we're working on it from different directions. Ms. Mix, would you address the court on what we need to do to help you and where you are on this project, ma'am? She and I had a long discussion last night, and they are excited about the project and further along on it than I realized.
Good morning. For several years, once I discovered we had a jail,
Ms.
I'm
Mix,
sorry, I have to do this.
That's okay. Will you identify yourself for the
Oh,
court as
I'm
well?
Kay Mix, I'm chairperson for the B County Historical Commission.
Thank you.
It was built in 1874, but if you want to designate it as a historical site, you have to fill out paperwork and you have to do extensive history research. That means who built it, go into Commissioner Court Record minutes if you have them from 1874, who designated to build a jail, why did you want to build a jail, who built it, how many years was it used, we know how many years it was used, why did you get a bigger one? You have to know a lot of information about that jail.
What it
The
costs?
cost, you have to know the cost to build it. You have to know the pictures. You have to have, all the different locations that it was.
That we can give you.
We know that it was set where the Great Barber is out here. Then it was moved. Where was it moved to? I understand it was moved to the county yard and used as storage and a maintenance shop. And then it was moved over on the Forester Creek. And then it was discovered by Sheriff Horn, and it was moved to the site that it was for years. And it's become very, dilapidated, but, was it Ram Services? Is that what it's called, that moved it? They did a wonderful job of moving it and stabilizing it. I sat out there one day watching them move it from the, site by the old jail to, where they moved it next to the two, juvenile things. And how they strapped it down and moved it was just amazing. Anybody that knows anything about the jail, I would appreciate it. I've gone into Beeville and looked, for different information. I do know that there were 2 cells in the original jail. They were moved to the new jail that was built. When it was torn down, where did the jail cells go? Probably with the destruction of the jail.
I'd still be upstairs. If it's the one down there.
Could be. It could be in the,
In the jail that's over on,
on Corpus Christi Street. It could be there upstairs.
so.
We don't,
We don't know. We need to go into when the destruction of the old jail, what did they do with the stuff that was in it? Is
Sounds
there a
like
record
fun.
of it?
Is this what you guys get to do all the
Yes.
time?
Yes.
Is membership open? A lot of people in the community would love to go on little
Well,
treasure
their,
hunts
their
like this.
membership is open. We can have as many people as we want, and if you're interested, contact me.
You heard it, B County, get out there.
Yeah,
Ms. Nick, some things that,
There's a notepad over there, sign your name on the way out.
Ms. Nick, some things that may help you. I know that the sheriff has found some recent information on the jail. He, Chief Deputy's here, but he was telling me he has some pictures.
There's there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's just hiding.
That he has some, if you will, pretty current information on the old jail that was
What I
uncovered.
have is information on the builder,
Uh-huh.
and I believe they paid $1,800 to have the bill. But I have the information on him, it's almost like a biography. And then digging through some stuff, I found, it's Sheriff Warren's old stuff.
Oh, good.
Joe Salazar was the mover, and there was a couple people in town that donated money to have it moved.
Good.
And in our,
I'll see you.
and in our 1874 minutes, we have a very, very, very good, clerk, and they have those.
Well, that's your project. You do have to, when you're doing research, even, when we did Colonel B for and putting on the, honored him with a historical marker. That research went on probably for 2 years before we ever submitted it to the state.
See, that's why we need the cover to help protect us, Rascal. Now, in my office, I have a picture of the wooden courthouse
Mhm.
that we think shows the jail on that side, and I'll be happy to let you take that today before you leave.
And Grace Bauer wrote her master thesis on B County, and if anybody would like a copy of that, it's about that thick. And it goes into land description, different people, different things. And in her, I have most of her pictures, and I do have a picture of the wooden jail. So I do have that.
Good.
It's a little small picture like this.
I guess what we're asking, how can we help you?
Any information anybody has, you make sure you document it. Please give it to me, and we'll sit down and we'll meet with whoever wants to meet and be part of that write-up, but we can write it and submit it to the state. The state goes over it, looks at it, they don't like it, they send it back to you and tell you what you need to change. And you look at it again and either add or subtract or change what they wanted, and then you send it back, and if they approve it, then you go for a marker. And I do not know how much markers are gonna cost now, because Southwell Foundry went through a, lawsuit and litigations after Mr. Southwell died, and the new owners refused to make Texas historical markers. So they found an entity in Indiana to make them, but they are shut down. And right now for the coronavirus, and so they are approximately 3 years behind on market.
Oh, wow.
When you're dealing with 100-year-old properties, what's 3 years?
We did receive the B Picayune historical marker. It is sitting over at the B Picayune right now. It will be, put up by the county in the near future. Hopefully, the Latcham brothers would like to have a big, huge marker celebration, and so we're trying to put it off till the coronavirus is over with, so we can have several hundred people from the state come in.
One final thing on the 1874 jail. Mr. Hernandez, we sent some pictures in, current pictures of the jail.
Mhm.
They have created a file, so they do
Okay.
have a file up there
Okay,
through Mr. Hernandez.
I'll call Mr. Hernandez.
Hansel Hernandez, yes.
Do we need to take any action on this, or just, at this stage, it's just more
I think it's just,
information?
Information.
I think it's more information of what you need to do to go forward with writing it and submitting it to the state to make it a historical designation.
We appreciate you guys doing all that work.
Most people don't realize what goes into it, but it's a lot of work and a lot of history digging.
Thank you, Mrs.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for coming, Kate. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Moving on, agenda item number 17, addition of plaque acknowledging work listing name title, B County Auditor, B County Jail Administrator, and B County Chief Deputy regarding new B County Sheriff's Office and Jail. Commissioner DeWitt, this is your agenda item. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Judge, and Commissioners. As you know, there is an official dedication plaque in the new Sheriff's Office jail. We have 3 individuals, the County Auditor, the Jail Administrator, and the Chief Deputy that have spent an inordinate amount of work on this project. I was involved with the project about the first year and a half. We had meetings at the Coliseum. I dropped out. They continued on. I can't tell you how many hours they put in, but I feel like, and the previous county judge and I had discussed this, and she agreed that we need to give them some recognition with that plaque, either to the side of it or under it, the same material, the same wording, the same verbiage. And I would make a motion that we add these 3 to that plaque with an additional plaque under it or the side of it, whatever is appropriate, and make a motion to do that. So,
Thank you, Commissioner. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hopefully the company that made that plaque isn't the same company that made the historical commission plaque, in which case we're in a pickle.
I guess we have the information from, I'm not sure who ordered it.
well, I think it was ordered through Turner, but if you would, can we put the Chief Deputy in charge of getting that done? Would you accept that, sir?
Could we also put a notation on that plaque that he was in charge of getting that plaque?
But you understand what we're saying, but if somebody needs to be the point, and would you be the point on this to make the contacts and get it all done and done, sir?
Yes, and of course, my office will.
Yes. That's part of my motion, sir.
Great, thank you, Chief Deputy. We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? I'm sorry, Commissioner.
No, that's all.
Let's go. If there is none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 18, request to transfer maintenance office to the Expo. Commissioner Farias, this is your,
That's
agenda
fine.
item.
We had a-
Floor.
We had a little mishap up there and with the fire sprinkler system and then come to find out that when it didn't work properly, the stuff pump went out and everything, and then I talked to our maintenance supervisor, Mr. Isaguirre, and he was sitting down there in 5 inches of water and about to hit the electrical boxes, so I said, hey, health and safety, call Mr. Willow, and said, hey, let's move him back out to the Expo. He was in the dungeon like a, like a troll down there, so we moved all.
Oh!
Hey,
You only let him out tonight?
only let him out, but no,
Somebody's getting
the office out there, the Western Week office that was being used.
Yes, sir.
Is now, Mr. Isaguirre, and I hope that all the commissioners agree to keep him out there and utilize that.
I think that was the reason we moved them out there in the first place, is that there was a lot of activity there.
There was.
A lot more so dispatched out of there than dispatched from.
And he has somebody here all the time, so it's not like we're gonna be looking for him. He's got some employees engaged. So, I don't know,
Yeah.
do you have any
Is
comments?
that- What are your thoughts, sir? Is that what you want to do?
Yes, sir.
Yes, 'cause I feel that dungeon down there is more of a work hazard. Well, he was saying, how long have you been in the dungeon? We have a time limit.
Who's next?
Move them out to the old jail.
Which old jail? We're one of the few counties that can say we have several.
No, so that's
So
my motion, is
there's
to
enough room
house
there?
him and keep him out there,
There's
you
enough
know?
room for what he needs?
Sir?
There's enough room in that office?
Oh, yeah, and I think IT's already gone out there and set up his computers, they've already got everything taken care of, and he is fully
I
operational.
will second that motion with gusto.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Don.
Congratulations, Mr. Easygater.
Thanks.
Agenda item number 19, set fiscal year 2021 sheriff's and constables fees. Michaela, you're on the mark for this one. You have the floor.
Mikel Gonzalez, County Clerk. Every year we have to report to the comptroller, by October 1st, if there's going to be any changes to the sheriff's or constable fees. So I did reach out to sheriff and all the constables, and they're not going to make any changes at this time. So we're just requesting that the court go ahead and approve the prior year's fees that were set, because there's not going to be any changes, so that way I can report those to the comptroller by October 1st.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Agenda item number 20, Dynamark Security Center service contract for security cameras at the B County Courthouse and Justice Center buildings. I have you as having the floor on this one, Mrs. King, too.
Well, what this is we're trying to consolidate, because we have a big contract with Dynamark, but these are the two, items that hadn't caught up yet to the contract. So what they're gonna do is extend this out, I believe, to 18 months to then coincide with our big contract, so,
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Agenda item number 21, Victoria Bearing and Industrial Supply, Inc. credit application for Road and Bridge Department. I think this is mostly housekeeping.
This is move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 22, contract renewal for alcohol and drug testing services between B County and Pinnacle Medical Management Corporation.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, the next four items on the agenda are going to be dealing with COVID and our response, as well as our CARES Act response. Agenda item number 23, update, discussion, and possible action regarding B County COVID-19 status, preparedness, and contingency planning. Let me begin with a general update. Our last periodic update was on Friday, September 11th, 2020. At that time, we had 1,180 confirmed community cases since inception of reporting began. Of that 1,180, only less than 200 cases are determined to be active by DSHS in Austin. That may be a number. That number may be an estimate. It may not be an actual hard number, but that number of active cases has been going down over the course of the last 2 or 3 weeks. Mr. Willow, I'm sure right now. Yes, sir.
As of this morning, we had another 97 people go to the off the quarantine center.
Wow. So we're under 100. Thank you. And so this is good. It's very promising, of course. Oh, sure. Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. So Mr. Willow had just identified or just updated for me that in addition to that, an additional, how many, 90?
97 cases came off of quarantine.
97 additional cases came off of quarantine, which if the 177 active case number is accurate, would put our total case number count below 100 of active cases currently in the county. That includes both community cases and prison cases. So that's a wonderful number, and it's a good metric for us to look at. Of course, with COVID, we've seen nationwide and worldwide, good news can quickly be replaced with more troubling news very quickly. B County is no different. And as we continue on with the agenda items this morning, we're going to be discussing manners in which B County can try to stay ahead of the curve, to continue to maintain good numbers and safety and security and peace of mind for our community members, because a lot of the impact of COVID-19 goes beyond how the disease itself touches our own lives and the lives of those that we love and trust and our neighbors and friends and community members. It also exacts a mental toll, and one of the hidden benefits of being able to provide some comfort and security to the community is that it can help lessen that mental toll on everybody that lives in B County that's out there worried about COVID and how it's impacting their lives. And so I think that's really valid and valuable. At this time, I'd like to ask Mrs. Cantu to go through a quick summary for us of actual COVID costs to date and anticipated COVID expenses as things stand right now through the end of the year.
So we have, to date, we have about a $45,000 that we've already incurred, $45,000, and that was to the end of end of August, and I have a projection from September through September to December, which is the end of the duration of these monies, is about 40,000. I mean, I'm not sure what we're going to have additional in any kind of employee. I know that there's a portion of the application, not the application, but what we can request reimbursement on as far as getting reimbursed for sick days that the county has paid towards employees, precautionary COVID situations that I have talked to Jaime, our HR director, and getting that information because that can be submitted for reimbursement. So that was something that we just talked about on Friday. So that could be coming down the pike, and Jaime's been keeping spreadsheets and been keeping that information. So I'll be working with him on that to get maybe a number, a hard number on that. Would you like me to go into, so that's about a $90,000 expenditure just on supplies, PPE that our departments have been getting, and then the employees, the part-timers, and the one full-timer that we have in the COVID fund. Do we want to get into trailer and truck yet? Okay, so that's all additional. I'll give you numbers when we get up to that one.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. And I just wanted to give the commissioners and myself sort of a starting line on what our expenditures have been to date. And for everybody in the audience, what we're talking about is the federal government passed the CARES Act, and included in the CARES Act was funding to state, local, and municipal jurisdictions for to offset costs directly attributable to responding to the COVID crisis. That included 6 buckets. Buckets 1, 2, 3 are direct expenditures, 4, 5, and 6 are indirect expenditures. The county of B received just marginally a little bit over $1 million that from CARES Act funding that we could use to help support our COVID response needs. There are federal regulations that cover how the manner in which any entity is expending these monies, the responsibility with respect to record keeping and due diligence with respect to expending any of these monies. And in addition to the federal government, we have the Texas Department of Emergency Management, which is acting as a somewhat of a gatekeeper, a liaison, sort of a checker for us, somebody that can support the county with their planned expenditures. So But they are providing a gatekeeping function. So in a few later, in the later agenda items, you may hear some discussions about this. We've taken this to TDM, we've talked to them to see what their thoughts are. Is it justifiable? Do they believe that based on the information that we've provided, that we've done the due diligence that it's necessary to support the expenditure, and that the expenditure on itself is supportable under the federal regs? And the reason why these agenda items are coming up at this point in time, one, we are getting close, I guess, to the final quarter of the year. But beyond that, with respect to our local ISDs and charter school, they're subject to TEA regulations and oversight. The TEA provided for connectivity expenses that ISDs could incur, and if the ISDs incurred them within the parameters that the TEA set out, the TEA would pay 50% of the cost of their connectivity needs up front, presumably from the same overall bucket of CARES money that we received a piece of from as well. The TEA went further and told the ISDs, look, with respect to the remaining 50% commitment that ISDs would have to make, if you can get your local, municipal, or county government to provide some or agree to be responsible for up to 25% of that remaining 50%, so up to half of the remaining 50%, the TEA will match those funds dollar for dollar. So theoretically, a ISD could come out of COVID-19 without having to utilize budgetary funds to pay for connectivity responses to the COVID crisis. The rub there is that the TEA is offering this on a first-come, first-served basis, and the timing for applications to be submitted to the TEA started September 7th. So first-come, first-served, we don't know what the volume of funds is. The ISDs don't know what the volume of funds is, but I think the ISDs and the charter school are very sensitive to the concept that if we can get our request in early, there's a better chance of us having our request be funded rather than getting it in late and there being no money left in the kitty for the ISD. So again, as we go through the next agenda items, it's important that we all have a good understanding of that background. So if there's any questions at this time, I'm happy to answer them. I'm also happy to turn the floor over to Mr. Willow for a few minutes if you'd like to give us any other update or any other information with respect to COVID-19 and the county's response in general.
No.
That's right. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or anything? Let me get back to my agenda item. Mrs. Cantu, is there anything additional you'd like to add with respect to this at this point in time?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. There's no further discussion. We'll take no action. We'll move on. Agenda item number 24, acquisition of custom COVID-19 response mobile trailer unit utilizing CARES Act funds. Mr. Willow, do you want to take the lead on this one for me? I don't want to. I'll let you money through it.
I know it. The wife had me work all weekend. I'm not used to it.
You had to come back to work to rest.
I know it. I missed the Saturday COVID test.
Come by the house, I'll give you a t-shirt.
Mike Willow, Emergency Manager. This item on the agenda is something that, when the COVID first started, we thought it'd be an excellent idea to have mobile testing for the county, to where we could go to North Lee County, we could go to South Lee County. We could go all the way out to Blanconia if we had to help conduct tests for people that want to make sure they didn't have the COVID. So it's something that is, I think desperately needed, especially now since the COVID's going down, the cases are slowing up, but school is starting, flu season is starting. Some of the scientists are saying that COVID is going to come up on the second bout. So I believe the mobile testing would be better, because that way we won't have the folks traveling through town, stop to get the test. Oh, we better get some stuff
from the stores, we better do this and get this done before we actually go into quarantine. By that time, it's too late. So, I think it's an excellent, opportunity for us to, provide a service to B County that has never been done before.
Yes, Willow, correct me if I'm wrong, but this trailer could also be used once a vaccine is approved to go around and give shots, same thing?
Theoretically so, but the sole purpose of this right now
I
is for the
understand.
same, but
But it has a long-range purpose on top of.
whatever the court would decide, yes,
Yes.
sir.
Have we gotten any response from Tito as far as those accepted?
Yes, sir.
They will accept it?
Yes, we received an email on Friday, actually,
All right.
that gives, I guess, the most green light that we can get from TDM, which is it looks acceptable, everything that was submitted looks in order, so, you know, we have it in writing, and we'll just see how that goes as far as the middle.
And the cost. The cost.
Well, you got two bids in one, no bid, right?
Well, we got,
What is the cost?
With the truck and the trailer would be $74,250.
Move to approve?
The truck.
Yes, we need something to pull the trailer.
well,
The truck is
but
for
the truck is only
leasing,
expensive.
would be leased, and that's a pro rate from, I'd say October, I think I worked it,
We would-
October through December.
I understand, look, Tatum said that the trailer would be acceptable
Right.
and approved in the most economical
Right.
situation. Leasing a truck to pull the trailer is also the most desirable way according to Tatum. So actually, the request of getting a new vehicle to pull the truck did not get approved. So if any oil companies or anything's out there that would like to donate a vehicle, by all means, give me a call. But, so that's our next step is to, work on getting a vehicle.
We couldn't possibly do a lease to purchase. Could we?
Haven't even looked at
Just
that.
a thought.
Haven't even looked at that.
Motion to approve the trailer.
Yes.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second, any further discussion? With respect to the trailer?
And the trailer's all equipped, it's all,
Yes, it,
everything that you wanted in order?
well, no, and, it'll still need to be retrofitted with the radio, you know, the communication equipment, stuff like that.
And the trailer's 62.
Trailer
The
62.
trailer
Yeah.
itself is 62, but it comes with the generator, it comes with the electrical
Canopy and
system.
everything.
Yes, it comes with the, internal wiring for if we wanted computers in there to hook up to a hotspot for the internet.
Very good.
So it is very,
So my question is,
67.
57.
67. My question is, and I understand that, you know, we have to lease a truck, the trailer. Have we looked into the possibility of a mobile unit as per like an ambulance? Being the same thing with that, two birds, one stone?
as
With
a
a basic life support, you can get a basic life support ambulance, and then rig it out like you want. Would that be something we could look at also?
well, the thought process was that people would, actually come inside the trailer.
Okay.
And it has a handicap accessible
Okay.
door
Alright.
to go up in the trailer, have the test conducted and exit out if need be, you know, so there's, a lot of thought
A
in
lot
that.
of thought has gone into the trailer.
Now, having a vehicle like that to pull the trailer, that would be a bonus.
Correct me if I'm wrong, this is CARES Act funds, we expend the funds, we're reimbursed. So
If
the,
they're approved by Tito.
so the net cost to B County is zero, and we have a trailer.
I would say yes, but
If everything.
Right,
I have not seen it, you know,
right, I understand.
should they change their mind, we're stuck with the,
It's a green light, but it's not very bright of a green light.
That's exactly.
And I think I've heard you say before, anything with government can be changed from one day to the next.
I've heard that several
A
times.
little experience in government, yes.
Okay, all right.
But my motion is still on the table to approve.
We have a motion, we do have a second. All right. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mr. Willow. Thank you, Grace and April. We've been working on this trailer for
always wanted this trailer
So-
since the beginning.
So this is good.
Hatch that idea in your office.
Moving on to agenda item number 25, acquisition of equipment and/or third-party contracting for rapid response COVID-19 testing utilizing CARES Act funds. You have in front of you now, commissioners, and we have a couple extra copies. Candy, I'd like, certainly, Hope needs one. We have one for Ms. Cantu, and one for Mike. I think I printed out enough. But Dr. Phelps, I don't know if you'd like a copy of the materials that you prepared for us. Oh, good.
It's a very standard series of things I've worked with,
Perfect.
commissioners, Dr. McIntyre. I'm actually a resident of Oasis County who was contacted. I manage all the labs for Physicians Premier. And so one of my physicians who also works with Spawn Beeville reached out, and that's how I got in contact with Mike and the judge here. So in doing this, I worked up 3 proposals with the estimated funds that had been recommended to me for you all basically in order of complexity, the highest complexity down to the least complex for you all as a county to handle. And I just wanted to talk to you about those and get your direction on which way you all would like us to proceed.
Yes, ma'am. Let me do 2 minutes. I'm sorry to stop you.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Dr. Phillips, thank you so much for being here, this morning and for being patient. I estimated that we'd be ready for it at 9:30, and this has been a really great meeting. So hopefully it continues that way. Dr. Phillips was brought in because we identified a potential solution to, again, our COVID response in having the ability, B County having the ability to respond quickly and efficiently to any COVID flare scare us, whether they be at ISDs or county or local government or large employers, where we could provide an immediate or nearly immediate testing result, which could prevent a wholesale shutdown of, say, an entire campus of school. We could provide some good data in an immediate fashion to help allow the administrators, the managers, department heads, elected officials, to be able to make decisions a little bit more close to the real-time decision that everybody would like to be able to do with COVID-19, where the world doesn't stop when a case pops up. And so in doing that, Jennifer Rucker, Mike Tyran, Mr. Willow, Grace Rodriguez, Mrs. Cantu, have all been working overtime trying to figure out and come up with solutions given those parameters. And that's what led us to Dr. Phillips. She mentioned briefly one of the entities that she's affiliated with. She's very modest. She's affiliated with. She's when it comes to COVID testing rollout and being able to quickly set up a solution that has a meaningful impact on a community has turned into being something of your specialty. And so with each one of these options that she's presenting, please understand she's presenting them from the point of view of somebody who has done this already, who knows the effort and the time that goes into doing it, and has been able to successfully kick off any one of these 3 components that she's going to be explaining today. I apologize for interrupting.
Okay.
I'll turn the floor back over to you, Dr. Phillips.
So as he mentioned, Physicians Premier, I set up a number of actual local COVID-19 mobile testing units in the state, San Antonio, Houston. And so what I've got listed here is a couple of different options and things that are going on. So I started with just proposal 1, but after hearing some of the concerns of Mr. Willow and the county auditor, I wanted to make sure and give you all a variety of options so that you all could ultimately pick which you feel would best serve the county. So in proposal 1, I actually set up proposal 1 under the thought of we were going to have a fixed location COVID clinic with the potential for some mobile testing.
Now, in doing this proposal, it involves both molecular testing, the PCR that you all heard of and are currently using, except that PCR is actually one that, as flu season starts to emerge, if someone's got something else upper respiratory related, that will tell you the answer. In addition to that, I recommended the rapid testing COVID and the rapid testing flu. Now, these two rapid testing methods, I actually included the sales sheet so you all could see just how simple this rapid testing method is. I actually am part of a group that tested nearly 2,000 University of Texas students on Friday because they had to get a negative test to go to the game. And with that included both the SARS antigen and the flu, partly because that's what we're going to need coming up with this flu season, and partly because that helps guarantee that you all actually get the equipment you need in this case. And then, just because I didn't know what we were walking into, I threw in the antibody test. Now, all 4 of these testing methods are actually the same as I have installed at all physicians' premier emergency rooms. It's considered moderately complex and does run the risk of having some additional expenses throughout the year that I estimated to be about $12,000. I think I could get a lot of this sourced up front. I know the date on the nasal swabs required for the BioFire was April was the best dating they had available. So we could get a number of it all purchased up front. Now, what I recommend, particularly now that I've heard about the trailers that you all are looking at getting, is actually proposal 2, if you would like to maintain your own. Now, this is strictly using this rapid test method. Now, unlike most of you have gone to the doctor and gotten a rapid flu test, and then you turn around and you come back and you still have the flu, even though the rapid flu test was negative. This COVID test is in fact the best one on the market for a rapid antigen test. To date, I think I've had over 7,000 conducted in laboratories I oversee, and it in fact does have this very, very high agreement with traditional methods. Out of 100 symptomatic cases during the rush in Nueces County, I only had 1 false negative. So I verified this in my own hands, and this is actually what most of the mobile groups that I work with across the state are using. So as for the concern about any ongoing costs throughout the year, the good news is this test comes with all the parts it needs. So whatever stock you all initially buy up front, you are set until the expiration date on those tests, which right now is ranging between 12 and 18 months. And it comes with the swabs to actually run the test, which is the hardest thing anybody can get their hands on right now. Now, the other concern was about having to set up the laboratory itself. This laboratory bin is waived, which means technically I've got a lawyer in Houston who's running his own COVID mobile operation. It's subject to the least amount of governmental oversight when it comes to lab directors and inspections, and thus works the best in these situations. Then proposal 3 is working with the group that I am actually also lab director of, quickcare.me/QC Labs, who actually is doing the on-site mobile testing with the University of Texas right now. And they also use the SOFIA method that I showed you all for the can-do PCR coming up here shortly. In this case, we'd be looking at doing an agreement with them at about the standard price where they can come up with a machine and the individuals and everything they need to collect and run the test, and either run the test on site if you all would like the antigen test, or if the PCR molecular test is confirmed, it will be able to be collected, go back to Corpus Christi, and be most likely on a run within and completed within 8 hours. if you all actually had a group of over 90, I can guarantee you as soon as those logs got back there, they'd go on. I'm installing that instrument too for them down there. So I kind of got a hand in a bunch of different methodologies and different projects across the state in related to COVID testing. I think one of the best benefits in at least engaging with them in some capacity is they are a telehealth provider. And so whether or not you do the testing yourself or if they do it for you, they are offering routine telehealth visits for $50. So if somebody is positive, they have a resource available at their hands to get a quick follow-up with a physician. And then that way, we're not necessarily exposing the entire of the local family practice office or you name it, at least for those initial follow-ups.
Dr. Phillips, under proposal 2, there's no, if we tested, if we went with proposal number 2 and we tested 100 people, 50 of them didn't have primary care physicians, the test results still have to be reported to DSH's regional.
The DSHS reporting, so the big one right now with the state reporting is actually quite simple. And I also thought about some of this myself. The state reporting right now is actually quite simple. It is a giant Excel spreadsheet that you literally just drag and drop. I also looked, and one of the reasons why I cut the test down to 5,000 tests a year is there may be a happy medium, so we could not necessarily worry about the burden on everything that engaging with quick care in that you all are handling the lab portion, but then you have them available as things go on, because they are literally working on starting up this telehealth business, and I've worked with most of these physicians who have seen some of the scary COVID cases show up in some of our sites. And so whether they just got diagnosed to if somebody needed to follow up on the advisement of which point in time when we're looking at O2 saturation to actually go to a hospital.
Dr. Phillips, first, thank you for being here, ma'am. I know you have a very, very busy schedule, but thank you for taking the time to come. My question concerns option 1 and 2. Do those tests need to be administered by a physician or physician's assistant, not just a regular county employee, right?
Actually, when it comes to actually running the test, if you have a high school diploma, you're good to go. Now, the question has really been with the ordering, which Texas laws are great. From everything I've done, I've been trying to find a decent medical lawyer to help me sort that out, but it's kind of difficult. Which is why with probably the safest compliance perspective, if you want to actually administer your own testing, is in proposal 2 that you engage. We kind of do it as a hybrid between 2 and 3, where we look at having you all engage with quick care to kind of handle the standing order portion of this. And then, even then, when I came out running the math, you still end up with 5,000 tests available to everybody in the area.
Judge, if you will, I think a lot of this is going to be up to Mr. Willow on what he thinks he can handle. Have you reviewed these, Mr. Willow?
Actually, no, I have not. They just came in.
Yeah, this is really last minute.
This was,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know, you're making me get up here. Frankly, here's my big concern on a lot of this. December 31st, everything stops. We don't know, thank you. We don't know if TDM or FEMA is going to extend the deadline. So all funding will stop December 31st. So what we incur after that will be on us as of right now. So that's my concern. You know, I don't know. Testing is great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you know, the more we get out there, the more we help the community, I think the better. But as far as the funding wise, personnel, you know, the county will have to hire the personnel.
And then at the 31st of December, do we let them go and we stop the program? Or do we pick up a county employee and make them part of the, I don't know what department yet. So there's a lot of thought on that to where, where we're gonna go. So frankly, I'd have to really take a look and stuff like that and get involved and more so to make a intelligent decision. But
No, thank you, Mr. Willis.
What I,
Our timeline is till December 31, correct?
Correct, with CARES Act funds.
what I
Here's that time.
can account for is that both, when it comes to purchasing all of this, you all can purchase everything that's testing-wise upfront. You can make a very large testing purchase out of the gate so that the funds have been spent. Particularly with the Sophia, I think I've got a client who tried to place an order for 10,000 COVID tests in one. That can all be spent up front. I know for certain if you went to do it with Quick Care has done a number of contract options right now where they are doing the spending up front so that you all can at least account for it, whether it was proposal 2 or proposal 3. And so it's really just I'm here to help you all you give me a list of requirements and I can help it, do everything I can to help you all.
My concern is putting more on county staff and more responsibility in one thing or another. And like Mr. Willow says, then we go December 31st, okay, do we either stop the program or continue to fund it, which is not in our budget at all after December 31st. And that's my concern with proposal 1 and 2. Proposal 3 is, if you will, turnkey with this company, and they do everything.
Yes.
And we could enter into that, and if it stops December 31st, it stops December 31st, and we have no foul, no wrong on our end.
Well, and I'd even approached them because I talked with 2 of the founders on Friday. I even approached them about the potential of a week pre-purchase test for you all. So then even if the funding stops on December 31st, you all would have an allotment of tests at your disposal.
That we could use
After that date.
They're paid for.
Yes, that's what I kind of approached with them and think that is very similar to the current contract we're executing with some of these grades right now.
And let's say we decide, well, let's have some tests. Would they come down and do them at a school or wherever we need those tests?
That is what I'm serving as their lab director also. Okay. That's how our license is actually set up. You can push, I think of 1,500 students actually showed up and we got it done in 8 hours. And all with this same test.
So the mobile unit that we're purchasing would dovetail perfectly with contract with them to do the testing through our mobile unit.
Yes.
I got one question for you. Being a machine, 2 weeks from now becomes, hey, Sophia number 2 is coming out. And we're changing the whole model or perspective.
The Sophia 2 is their newest model. They have hung their hat on it. If anything, what you all will benefit from with the newest change coming down the line is, and if I tell them we will put it in the contract for the verbiage is there is the potential for a combo flu COVID test hitting the market shortly.
But that again would be something that, sorry, I can't remember the name.
Quick Care, QC Labs,
They use the Sophia machine.
we have 5 of them at the moment, and so really, I think the agreement in this process would just be to come with the notification, sort of the timeline notification, so they can fit it in and make sure that things are appropriately available. I estimated maybe 24 hours notice, but as I said, I can, if this is the way you all want to proceed, and I take some recommendations from you all into kind of what things you'd like to see in the agreement. I can bring it to them, we can get a draft up here for discussion, for future approval.
And approximately this proposal 3, what is the cost on it?
The cost is actually done on a per patient
That's that
basis.
$100 here?
Yes.
Okay, so, okay.
It's kind of, there's some discussion room in it, 90 to 100, they're open. It really just depends on what you all would like to see and how many tests you all want available. So I was instructed to try to spend $300,000, so we're looking at least 3,000, at that amount, that was about 3,000 tests.
Now, how does this either dovetail or conflict with what goes on at the Coliseum with the National Guard?
We have had no interaction with them at the National Guard. The National Guard testing has been a direct nasal swab with PCR.
So that would possibly continue, and this would be an
If
adjunct.
they're doing it as an oropharyngeal cheek swab,
What you said.
did you actually,
Yeah.
did you actually get your results back? Because that's most of the people I've interacted with, 2 weeks later, can't find any results.
Yeah, no, they've been
3
days.
days.
2 to 3 days.
Y'all are doing a lot better than we were down in the Wasey.
Yeah, no, we've been, Tatum's been, and we have a private drive-through testing beside, like, our test, it's been, I'm just trying to say everybody's great.
Yeah, well,
This would
and
add it.
that's
This would
why
fill
I'm
a different-
surprised, because I've heard of some interesting stories in the Oasis and over in Huron County. With it, it's both complementary and similar. The biggest benefit to this is A, you go to the people don't come to you.
Gotcha.
B, this is actually a different test. This is a nasal swab that detects a part of the virus and not the genetic material of the virus. And if somebody is acutely infectious, it will be positive. Because unlike the swab where they're looking for the genetic material of the virus, for this test to pop positive, you have to actively have your body be producing virus. In fact, this is actually the swab we've been using. We recommend it for work clearance in our own internal protocols with groups I work with in lieu of a genetic material-based swab, because the virus is alive if you are getting this to pop positive, in contrast with the genetic material you are not. It's not a guarantee.
Let me jump in real quick. I know we probably have more questions for you, Dr. Phillips. I think this is a good point in time to address Mrs. Cantu and Mrs. Utradia's expertise on this role. CARES Act has and CEDAM's guidance with respect to CARES Act. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't remember what I said before. It was very good. But basically, I'm posing a question to Mrs. Cantu and Ms. Utrdia, totally unfairly, because I didn't tell them beforehand, hey, I'm going to ask you this question this morning. But my thought process is on, and certainly a part of what y'all are hearing in the discussion is that we have a kind of a value that we're comfortable with, and that's the value that Dr. Phillips has been working with. Given the complexity of CARES Act reimbursement funds and the CARES Act components, this is sort of the realm of the $1 million that we feel comfortable trying to utilize for this purposes. The second component of that would be that, and jump in at any point in time when I start rambling, but my understanding is that CEDAM has made a determination with respect to if you contract for a CARES Act benefit, the CARES Act, what you receive has to be received before the end of the year.
Well,
or
any
it has to be
contract,
billed before the end of the year.
any contract, that, you know, wants to be taken on by the county has to be submitted for prior approval through
Yeah, I
CEDAM.
haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, that's where I'm at,
Okay.
because, we have to submit to them first. I mean, this project is very new, you know, like that was stated. This was just kind of brought up. We have not submitted anything to TDM as far as any kind of hard green light or anything, so.
Right. Yeah, at
um,
this stage, and the reason why we're this early at it is because the three direction, especially proposal one, requires swift movement, the obtaining by B County of certain governmental numbers, 3 or 4 different contractual. Dr. Phillips and I talked about it last week, and it just, the amount of, and she can do it. She's done it 4 times before this.
Too many times now.
So she could do it, but yeah, I felt the same way when we started talking about it. So we talked about trying to get contracts, and then, after reflection and further discussion with Mr. Willow and Mrs. King too, I reached right back out to Dr. Phillips and said, wait, I'm really sorry. I think maybe we need to consider other options, and she came up with these other 2 options, and is presenting here this morning. So theoretically, best case scenario, when we're done with this agenda item, we'll be able to provide some guidance to Dr. Phillips to move forward, knowing that ultimately we're still going to have to get the, it's not, they won't approve, CDM is not approving or disapproving of projects. They're giving us guidance with respect to their belief on our likelihood of success with reimbursement. And so with the trailer, we got real close to the green light, and that's as far as we can take it. We do the same thing certainly with any of these arrangements. My question is, and I just don't know off the top of my head, I can't remember. It's a Grace, I'm even looking at you. I don't know if you can remember with respect to CARES Act, the component of, does the, like with respect to building it, I believe it has to be done before the end of the year, but I'm not sure. That's just one. Do you know, Dr. Phillips? I don't know. I haven't looked at it. That's one of those questions is, can we contract? Because the entity that we'd be contracting with, we would want to be able to have them get here this day, the day that we call them. We want that. And there may be some additional considerations from a business standpoint that they would have to move around to be able to accommodate that request, i.e. it's a more expensive request. And it could come with the same commitment of testing, but for us to obtain that solution from them, this is the only option. We have to buy this stuff up front. I think is a much better argument than if we are able to contract with them just to come down, then there's a less expensive alternative. And that's really what we're, so what you were honing in on, those are all really good points, because the dovetailing and the working in conjunction with what we are already planning on doing helps to drive down the cost from a application standpoint, right? So they'll see that, yeah, we've addressed these and considered these differently priced proposals, and this one you're showing that you're being a prudent manager of the federal funds. With respect to the proposal 2 versus proposal 3, on proposal 2, we don't know, it's gray, whether or not we'd actually have to have a standing order to administer the test. But as far as the results of the test, we pass them on directly to dishes. But you said that we could have a hybrid type situation where we could enter into an arrangement with QuickCare.me, maybe to either provide that standing order, in which case they would be obligated to make the initial contact with the patient on a positive test, and potentially telemedicine or telehealth them through the process. Additionally, if circumstances change, and DSHS Region 11 determines that any component of contact tracing or quarantine monitoring would devolve to the physician. I don't know if that's occurring in other counties, or if you've had that happen with the quick
I have
company.
not heard any word of that in the week. And as far as I know, for my group in Beeville and in Portland, who also do a lot of local news for Region 11, they've not had any mention of that. So I'm gonna have to send the COVID physician, head of COVID from the physician standpoint to help me suss out whether or not those are changing locally. I hope maybe if I can get a hold of Annette Rodriguez, she knows.
Okay, good. Mr. Tyron, do you have any, Mike Tyron is here, he's with Christus Fund, he's one of our very highly valued COVID Coalition members, and he was instrumental in bringing Dr. Phillips to our attention.
Well, I mean, Dr. Phillips, obviously the subject matter expert, just kind of, whatever you guys decide, whatever decision's going to be made. Like our team will continue to support this to whatever extent we have to get this done. That's really all I can say. I like option 2, so. That's kind of, we'll be here for the county and we'll do whatever it takes. So if it's something to tie us over until some contracts come through or all that, we'll do it. If it's December 31st or January 1st, it won't matter to us.
Would you mind sharing with the court if you're willing to, your thought process on your preference with respect to proposal 2 as opposed to proposal 1 or 3?
I think the rapid response. My thing is if the school district, if the school at Pawnee or Pettis or something pops up. If it's in county, if it's ours, we don't really rely on anybody else. We can up and go and get it done. Whereas if you have contact with somebody, you always kind of, the coordination between all those entities, all sounds great, contracts are nice, but to actually get there, oh, I can't do Monday, let's do Tuesday, something else comes up, whereas this is yours. You guys make the decision, the county makes the decision, this is what we're gonna do. That's why I'm really leaning toward option 2.
And you raised a good point that Dr. Phillips, I'm sorry I didn't address earlier. With respect to the Sophia machine, it is a truly mobile machine.
Yes, the group out in Houston and the group in San Antonio that are both mobile, and I'm talking fully outfitted sprinter vans. These machines are truly mobile. We pick them up and throw them in the car and drive them to Austin a couple times a week right now for quick care. All you need is an outlet. Even then, you only need an outlet for an hour or 2 every 4 hours, roughly. You even get some machine read time off of these without even plugging it in.
Do you know what the turnaround time is on availability of a machine? Like if we were to, we're not gonna make a decision today, because we just have to continue on going through the process, but let's say we could make an order if we went with option 2, we'd make an order by the end of the month.
Right now, everything is in flux. They're not turning around the fastest. But if you all decided to do with option 2, what would happen if you did not have a machine? By the time one of my other groups who had an order on hold did, I'd go grab one of my lumbers and bring it up here and you'd have a machine. The other option that works as a sort of in-between, I recommend this because I've seen how well it works with my own eyes, and I've gotten to see the data both in asymptomatic population and symptomatic population. What I do know was coming up really quickly was one of my routinely used vendors is actually going to have some of these CD branded come up in that, let's say you all decide you want to do option 2, but you want to get started basically yesterday. I would actually recommend a small order, $5,000 probably worth, and get some of that equipment in to get started with. And then that way, while you wait on the bulk of it, you can still run even if what I deem the best option isn't available.
Just a question. Okay, I go to the facility and I get the test. It's a rapid response. How long will it take before I know the results?
Depends on what the current volume of testing is going on there. All of these tests are read within 15 minutes.
So possibly within an hour?
Yep.
Okay, that's my big question. So this is so much better than 3 days, 4 days, a week later. Within an hour, you know.
I don't know, I think you mentioned it, but let me make the point a little bit stronger. Options 1, 2, or 3, they come with you're part of the package.
Essentially,
You're not a salesman, you're actually.
I'm not a salesman.
You plug in next to the machine.
Hands-on.
I am a very hands-on because I've seen having, I think right now I'm up to 18 different, I'm involved in 18 or 19 facilities across the state. state that are on a higher accreditation status and a couple that are on a lower accreditation status, like we have with option 2. And, yeah, I've seen what happens when proper protocol is actually used to run these tests versus improper protocol. And the reason I push so much on certain tests is because if I know the test, I already know where it's going to go wrong and can advise staff on how to not make those mistakes.
Mr. Willow, do you have any, at this time, any additional insight or thoughts?
Well, something that, you just want to make me stand up.
Yes, sir. I like Cleveland.
Something, we haven't placed the order for the trailer yet. It's custom made, so there's a possibility of 8 weeks for it before it can be ready. So I just want that time frame in there.
Thank you.
So we know whatever we want to do, we support 100. Mike and I are on board. We can make anything happen. The only thing Mike hadn't been able to do is weld the crack of dawn, and we're working on that.
We appreciate that. I know, but Commissioner DeWitt's comment, I think, is shared by everybody. We already know everything that you and so many other county folks are doing for the community, and we don't want to create a situation where we just capsize, your fast-moving boat.
Just another cup of coffee, boss, and we did.
Oh, okay, yeah, and consider, okay. Yeah, so Commissioner Farias was suggesting that if we do decide that we want to continue discussing with Dr. Phillips some type of a hybrid proposal 2, proposal 3, that we might want to continue or consider trying to include an option for the Sophia 2 machine versus the original Sophia machine. But I think you said that's something that.
So right now, they're nearly exclusively on the Sophia 2. The Sophia 1 that I have are ones that have been snagged from previous customers as loaners.
Oh, so
Okay.
whatever, it would be Sophia 2.
Yeah.
It would be
In the
Sophia,
interim, you might be able to loan it.
Sophia 2, if one of my other clients with one of my Sophia 1s, their shipment gets in, I go snag that one and move it down here.
Okay.
Judge, what's your motion, sir?
So I don't know that we have a motion at this time. My feeling, and I'll go first, and please disagree with me. This is one of those things where we're dealing with a lot of unknowns, and it's going to take a whole lot more movement before we get to the point of where we're at in the trailer. And the hopes is that we can make that, get to that point, in the next meeting or two. So really quickly into a month, we'll have something. But my thought process is I like the concept of option 2. I like it because of the, kind of like Mr. Tyran said, if we had a need and the need could be filled in a matter of an hour or an hour and a half, I think that brings meaningful improvement to the current options that we have, which, with the military, TDM being so supportive of B County, we have military testing here very frequently. We have them here all the time. We've got a great setup. We're an accommodating county, and their turnaround time is 3 days. With our drive-through testing facility, we can provide testing results within 24 hours. So if I'm looking at, my problem with the third option is if it's an 8-hour turnaround, best case scenario, or a 5-hour turnaround, best case scenario, am I nimble enough to respond to the needs of the school to try to shrink that gap between an issue arising and enough data so that the people in charge can make meaningful decisions to protect everybody and still not shut everything down. To me, that seems like the best proposal moving forward. In the interim of getting that all set up and done, of course, the loaner unit and training on that would be great. Absent that, some type of hybrid component with option 3, where if something happens in the next 4 weeks, 5 weeks, we do have that resource that we can try to take advantage of. It may be a different type of an agreement than agreement to a commitment to utilize it to a certain number. So the pricing may go up a little bit. It may be a little bit different, but to try to use that as something to fill that tranche between the time of now and when we get a system up and running. But I think in a perfect world, proposal one's the way to go, right? But there are so many hurdles, regulatory and operationally from the county, I really don't think it's a good solution for us.
Proposal one is quite literally with everything I have stacked. If you were having shortness of breath and they thought you had COVID and you went into a physician's premier facility. But it does really require a better stable because I'll tell you from personal experience, I've seen patients who will not show positive on PCR, who will not show positive on antigen, and the only thing they show positive on is antibodies. Have you seen some of those too?
Just a few, very, very few, but they are around.
Yeah,
Just
that,
something to scratch your head and then, what is this?
but for what you all want to achieve, if you want to do it yourself, option two is the way to go. And it's, if you had to look at it and boy, this is something that, I mean, I've got a whole fleet of Southern Career Institute trained medical assistants who are actually in facilities right now on days that work. Pretty much all they do is run those machines. It's very minimal training to be able to do.
Option one not being mobile, we need a permanent location, we need a building, we need an office, we need something to house it and maintain it. That's another hurdle besides the regulatory items there.
You know, one big advantage I just thought of, we've got a jail we have to administer. And we could test a prisoner or a detainee before they go in and know before they go in, say, no, you're not going in there. Judge, this could really help us out at the jail and sheriff's office.
That's actually what some facilities I have, if somebody's got upper respiratory symptoms but doesn't think it's COVID and wants to see the practitioner, they will actually administer the COVID test from the car.
Yes.
And then bring them in once they've confirmed they're negative.
Good, I think and I like the idea of maybe getting something in the interim while we're working on this option two. And I appreciate the hospital saying that they like option two. And, they're right there helping us out with the jail and it's instant, it's right there. And you folks in the jail will know within an hour, they said, no, this person's not going in the jail, they're going here. Judge, I think we need to move forward. We need to find out first.
Yeah,
That's
my big,
that's why we put it on the schedule first.
Well, we'll
Going
do
with
what we
option two,
can.
Then the trailer, then what we spent, where we at.
But even if we don't get the trailer, we can do this. Can you
Well-
work this out of the trunk of a car?
Well, the thing is with me getting, an email is submitting something.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
And so that takes time. I mean, Judge knows how long it took, with the truck and the trailer. I mean, we've been working on this for 2 months and this just came up. So,
Yeah.
you know, time is not really on our side.
Time is your best friend and worst enemy in government.
Maybe.
Right now, it's our friend.
Because of the requirements that they're really
But
putting
if
on
we
us.
say we move forward, then we can start the clock.
Whatever the judge wants to do.
And we can have a meeting anytime with
September 22nd. What do y'all think about putting together a small committee to try to help streamline this process and keep it moving? With guidance from Commissioners Court, general guidance, which I think we've already provided. I still want to hear from everybody. But just to try to cover the audit issues, EMC issues, medical issues, the actual structure of the agreement. I'd be happy to be on the committee. I'd be happy to let somebody too. But before we make any decisions on that, Commissioner Salazar, your
mean, this looks like a, you know, a viable project. I mean, to just my minimal knowledge, I mean, this would be very COVID, related.
This one looks perfect, we got rid of
Right,
everything.
I mean.
This one looks better than the trailer here.
Yeah. Well, the thing with it, it's like, don't forget, we have the other departments, let's say that, Ms. Mathis and Praise Law said, you know what, I think we got a problem over here, go check them. Within an hour, we know, oh, everybody's good.
Yeah, sounds
Or,
great.
you need to put them in dungeon.
We're gonna reserve that till.
Yeah, that's gonna be COVID. No, I'm
COVID.
not going there.
No, I agree, and also if you, again, with the small committee, they can focus on the emails back and forth and possibly move the process. Because I know Ms. Cantu and her department has got a lot of things on the plate, and sending an email and back and forth is not one of those things. We may have gotten an answer sooner, but they were tied up with budget, and again, you know, it's.
Yeah.
You can inundate them with a bunch of emails going, wait for your response, I need your response, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's been difficult with Tatum, because really, it was the latter part of the second half of the summer, the beginning of August, when this really started to roll out. So Tatum they've become more efficient, we've had a couple of conversations with people up the line with them, and things have been moving a little bit more smoothly, but, it seems to me that we are interested in trying to come up with a solution somehow along the lines of proposal 2 and proposal 3, but focus on proposal 2 as being the solution, with proposal 3 as adding in maybe the telemedicine component, and then aside from that, a stopgap, which might also be, you know, fillable through a loaner and training, and another resource that you have at your disposal.
My Quidel representative really has to like me right now, that's all I've got to say. So I think my question for all of you, just so I can help give the initial documentation that the Cantu is gonna want in seeing the numbers, is, approximately how many tests would you all like me to go? So I know we may need, I was just working with the numbers that were thrown out. I believe at 5,000 tests, I had about 100,000 still in that working budget. How many tests would you all like me to approach Quidel with, so we can get a formal, you know, agreement with these paperwork?
Mr. Willow, what number, sir?
I was, we have conducted approximately 3,500 tests in B County, so we're,
By the way, that's really, really great.
you know,
That's
you know,
a huge
so,
number.
and it's been since the onset. I would almost say with the schools and stuff like that, maybe another 3,000 tests would probably not be unrealistic.
So instead of 5,000, 3,000.
Right, I think, because we can always go out and buy more. Am I, you know?
Yeah, the initial agreement with Quidel will put you in at the lower price point, but I also, because I have contacts, if, let's say, you needed some more faster, it's a little bit of a markup, but I do have another vendor who can get them in faster than Quidel can at some point.
Yeah, so that's part of it, so that's
You know,
really good to
because
have
if
that
we
guidance.
say a school, you know, for example, you know, BISD is the biggest school, okay? That would dwindle pretty close to 3,000 tests if we had to do the entire school. You know, so, you know, then that'd be, you know, so that's.
Yeah, it's 5,000 sounds like a big number on the front end, but theoretically, I mean, really.
Yeah,
We
we
need to
can
look
knock it
at
out.
6,000,
Oh,
because
no,
it's cases of 300 is what
Cases
they.
of 300. No, 3,000. I guess it would depend, because again, part of the other reason for making for committing to a certain number of tests gets us to the point where we actually can contract directly with the entity. And but at 3,000, if we think that's a good starting spot, I would follow that.
Just don't shoot from the hip. You know,
He's
and maybe the committee might.
Well, and once I get some numbers at what would amount to 3,000 COVID and 3,000 flu for as used, then that raises enough alarm bells at Quidel that it makes you a little more interested
Great,
to
yeah,
move
moving forward, yeah.
faster.
Let me ask the same question to the hospital. What number would you be comfortable with, sir?
I agree with my fellow here, the 3,000, definitely good starting point. This could go in, go quickly, and even if it is BISD at which would max us out, at least we can get it done. I think the 3,000 is a really good starting point.
Good.
In addition to Mr. Willow, I would say, and Mrs. Kane too, I don't want to jump ahead of you on this, I'm happy to say you would be on the committee, but I don't know, maybe Grace might it might be okay to put Grace on the committee and she can report back to you any concerns.
Grace is just as mean as April.
That's the way it's set up. It's set up like that.
Is that okay? April, is that me?
Of course, yeah, definitely. Because
And, Mr. Tyran, I don't know if you have the ability or the interest or willingness to participate on a committee as a community member. Is there any other component department that,
I would like, excuse me, since Mr. Carvajal's not here, I would like to have him involved as well. And one of the main reasons is because people inherently call community affairs to ask questions. And the fact that Mr. Carvajal would be in there and he'd be a good knowledge point to help put out the word.
thank you.
It's easy, that was easy to do there.
So I believe Commissioner Farias has a motion on the floor to, appoint a small, committee to run this through and hopefully bring it back to us before the end of the month. Of course, along with Dr. Phillips, but for our committee, it would be, Mr. Willow, Mrs. Yutudia, Mr. Carvajal, and Mr. Tyran.
I would second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Oh, and myself, I'm sorry. We got one of y'all.
You already volunteered, sir.
Well, wait, he has to amend his motion.
I'll amend my motion.
Thank you. Okay, is there any further discussion at all? I'd like to thank Dr. Phillips. Thank you so much for, this is really, she's been on this since last Wednesday.
And your motion is also to proceed, correct?
Yes, to proceed without proposal two.
Proposal two, in conformity with the discussion that we've had.
And that gives me good marching orders. I can send a couple emails off and make sure we at least get the couple of proposals up and running.
Awesome. That'd be great. Thank you so much, Dr.
You're
Phillips.
welcome.
And again, I'll make, after the meeting, we'll get together, we'll put together a little, email string, include you on it, so that you know all the players, and we can get, or you have a few minutes after the meeting, if you can hang around for a few minutes.
I've got some state reporting to do, because
Oh,
I
no.
also handle the state reporting for 9 of our 13 facilities.
Well, then, you may be excused. Gotta keep her on our good side, right? Thank you, Dr. Phillips.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Oh, we haven't voted. My apologies. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everybody that provided insight, guidance, and volunteered, or didn't volunteer for the committee.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Agenda item number 26, availability of CARES Act funds to support county independent school districts and charter schools connectivity needs related to COVID-19. You have, in front of you a printout, which is a set of proposals from our ISDs and our, charter school. If you'll look, and so when we're looking at these numbers, the component, the commitment would be 25% of the total expenditures that we would be considering supporting the community with. If we refer back to what Mrs. Cantu previously reported on an earlier agenda item, that she anticipates basically about $95,000 for supplies, PPE, and employee expenses through today's date and through the end of the year, 45 and 40. That's about $95,000. The trailer is about 67,000, is that right, or 72?
I would go with the 74,
74.
because, that's with the truck
lease
lease,
truck.
yes, sir.
We didn't vote to lease the truck.
I believe we can go that,
But
because we
we'll
need
go
to get the
back and-
trailer,
yeah,
we need to get the
absolutely.
trailer, going first.
So that gives us current, current exposure of, 179K, is that right?
Mhm.
This is kind of, so again, now we're subject to, with respect to this agenda item, the connectivity request, subject to the 75-25% component. Oh,
Yeah,
my bad.
169.
Okay, oh, that's right, I just added one. I'm sorry. No, it's great, that's how I like to do my own math for myself, it always puts me ahead. So with respect to the 75-25% component, we can spend, of what we spend in CARES Act funds, 25% of what we expend can be related to connectivity support for our ISDs. There's other components we could, create, like the city has engaged a consultant, and they're coming up with a grant program for local businesses. That's also would fall under buckets 4, 5, and 6, which are the same as the connectivity, which fall within the 25%. So at this stage, with 169K expenses, with a likelihood that we will engage in some solution with respect to testing, but as far as the expense goes, we just don't know what it is. That's kind of the unknown that's going to be make it somewhat difficult to come up with what do we have to actually support our ISDs with right now. I've spoken to the ISDs. I sent them a letter and or an email, and I let them know that because they're the TEA's subject to available funds option for this remaining grant proposal component through the TEA opened up on September 7th. I presented the concept to the local ISDs and the charter school that maybe to get the ball rolling for them, if they would consider approving or accepting connectivity expenses subject to a proviso that if at the end of the day it turns out we expended more CARES Act funds on connectivity than we are allowed to under the 75-25% ratio, that they would reimburse us whatever the difference is that we would have to reimburse TDM, federal government, for those CARES Act expenditures. So if we spend $100,000, $25,000 of that would be spent on connectivity. If it comes out at the end of the year, we do spend $25,000 and we are only entitled to $20,000, then we would apportion that $5,000 overage back to the ISDs, and they would pay us back. So we're not just giving them money out of our reserve fund. That's the problem, is this is all reimbursement based, and so it's very uncomfortable. Now, whether or not they can actually engage in that type of an agreement, I don't know. I don't know at this stage, and that's not a concern for us if they're willing to enter into the agreement. But at 169,000, that gives us, I don't know what that is.
Roughly 40.
Yeah, is that right? Roughly.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is, the only money we have we can do that with now is funds we've already expended.
No, as long
For
as,
sure.
as long as at the end of the year.
I'm
the
talking about
numbers
right
line
now,
up.
though. We
Yes.
know how much we have right now that we expended. The rest of it is we may or we may not. And if they are reluctant to agree that if we overspend, that they reimburse us, the only thing we have is what we have now.
Mhm.
That's it. Do they understand that?
Yes, sir.
But they haven't responded as to whether they can reimburse us.
Well,
I don't think TEA is gonna give them that green light.
I don't think so.
I think it's gonna be a problem for them to do that.
TEA is not gonna agree.
But
It's too.
does it have to go to TEA or could it go to the local school board?
No.
It has to go to TEA.
Don't know.
It's not, I don't think it's gonna happen. Look what it would do for the whole state.
Yeah, because then the DEA would pay out
Oh my
sharing,
gosh,
and
yeah.
then they'd have to undo it.
Yes.
Yeah. So then, let me run through the requests for y'all, so we can kind of figure out what we can do, or if we need to. wait
Before we
until-
start,
yeah.
how much money do we have right now on the table we can spend?
Well, our drop was $210,000. That's what we had originally in the account, and we spent, say, 45,000.
Okay, so we've got 25% of 45,000 that we can say we can definitely spend.
I would say so.
So roughly $10,000. That's it.
But we know
For sure.
we know we're spending on the trailer. We voted on that.
But it's down the road. That's the only thing.
Because even if you came up with a small whole number, say $5,000 to each ISD, the charter schools, I mean,
For sure.
that's for
just
sure. Just kind of a small number to not maybe have to go into you have to pay us back. I mean, I'm sure our ISDs would appreciate any assistance.
That's where I'm coming from too, that we know we've got this much, but we could go and say, okay, each one of y'all gets 5,000. That's the best we can do now because everything else is a fog in front of us. We don't know.
Right.
We don't want to put y'all in a position where if it doesn't happen, you have to reimburse us. If
Or
we
a-
had to, we can eat this.
Right.
But we're talking about purchasing the trailer, regardless if we're gonna get reimbursed, is that correct, sir? Are we
Yeah, that's
having to go
kind of
out
how
for
I'm
the trailer?
looking at it,
So,
Commissioners.
you can add that to that.
Okay.
And the
All right,
estimated employment and PPE expenses
Right.
through the end of
So,
the
yeah,
year.
the 160.
Because I know that it's conservative.
Okay.
Right,
I-
and
I've
we want to,
already
and we
know
want to
that.
be, we want to be, right, and we
I know
want to
it's
be,
I can live with that too.
thank you.
Yeah, and that gets us up a little bit, and then the question becomes with respect to the presentation of Dr. Phillips and some solution there down the road, do we feel comfortable committing the county, at this stage? And let's say it's not the total amount of these proposals, because things can change, you can pick a number, I think it'll be half of this, do you feel comfortable running that risk, which would, again, then, to your point, would increase the amount that we're reasonably confident that we can go ahead and give outright? Because I agree with all of y'all that the best way to be able to do this is to be able to say, yeah, absolutely, we know it meets all of, the only issue is if we don't have category 1, 2, and 3 enough to support it, that we could run into, troubled waters. So if we take that 169 number, do we want to commit, or do we feel comfortable increasing that as our 75% number at all, with respect to what we've heard as far as proposal, the testing proposal?
Because that was about 300,000, wasn't it?
Yeah, 300,000 to 400,000, yes, sir. So if you take
We could
50% of that,
We could back it. Put another 150 with that 169, that gives us, $319,000.
gives us $100,000 to commit to the ISDs.
Well,
How uncomfortable
not
are
exactly.
you with this?
Not exactly 100,000, you're looking around 75,000.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. It'd be 400. I'm sorry, 400.
I'm just guessing.
I know Ms. can lose.
Well, whatever the court feels comfortable with, you all know what we're dealing with. So whatever you would like to do.
That would be
is up to you.
75,000 to divide equally among all of them, or whatever.
Or, yeah, based on need, or because if you look through it,
Yeah, 'cause there's some
BISD
that are lower.
and BISD, they do have a commitment from the city of Beeville. I'm not exactly sure what that number is. Their needs are incredibly great, almost $800,000. And I don't recall exactly what, I asked them to include it in their request, but I also said connectivity costs only. So if we take their total cost on connectivity as $63,000, a quarter of that is not as meaningful as requesting for $715,000. Skidmore Tynan's request you can see, if you run through them, their total request is, their total 50%, cost was 55,000. Half of that is about 25K. The one that doesn't have a title on it, I apologize, it's printed off in blue, there's some blue lighting. This is Pettis, and that is, Pettis' entire expenditure, excluding the 50% initial TEA component, was 11,325. So their request is in effect 5,000 and some change, whatever that change is. And then we have, yes, sir, St. Mary's. They did the math for us. Their request is actually for 31,000, and then Pawnee's total expense was 89 or 90,000. So there we could support them up to 45 grand basically. The numbers are all different. We could consider making a proportional to their request matching. We could split it up equally. I think if we split it up equally, we would need to. The only thing is with Pettis, you know, their numbers are pretty low, so proportionally, if they.
You could fund all of Pettis, and then take the rest of it and set it up, because Pettis doesn't need that much.
Yes, sir. And the city, when I talked with the city about this beforehand, a month ago or so, and they were comfortable with taking on the ISD, because the city of Beeville has 700,000 CARES Act dollars that they can utilize, 700, they can utilize 900. They've got a lot too that they can utilize. It's probably 900,000 that they can utilize as well. And so they were comfortable taking on the commitment with the ISD. I don't believe that that SMACS is included in those requests. SMACS being St. Mary's Charter School, St. Mary's Academy Charter School. But at this time, I think I've talked enough. I'll open up the floor so you guys can discuss a little bit.
Well, the way I figured it, it's around 75,000 in our pot. If you take Pettis out of that, was what, 11,000? That leaves us what?
Well, it's 5. It's half of 11.
Okay, that leaves us $70,000 for the other entities. Total. Okay, fully fund Pettis. It's so low.
Skidmore?
Skidmore, what's Skidmore? How much?
55,
55,766.
which is they get a quarter, right?
27,833.
Okay, there's money for that. Okay. 27. That leaves us, 40.
Pawnee?
43 roughly.
Pawnee is 89,150, 44,575.
Good, we could fund half of that and the rest go to Beeville, BISD.
Well, we haven't included SMACS.
I'm sorry.
St. Mary's.
Go to St. Mary's.
St. Mary's is 31, 686, 14. I mean, proportional would be that's on the surface, the fairest, which is kind of, and I don't know, proportionally, it would probably match most of what Pettis has. It's just their number's so low to begin with.
Yeah, I think they'd be taken care of regardless.
Those are all no, I'm missing. We got St.
Beeville?
Beeville. And they spent 63,000 on. Well, they'll take they will, and they understand the kind of how the county and the city have apportioned this, so they understand anything that we can do. I didn't want to not include them when I brought this to you guys, because they are such an important part of our county, and I know we all want to support them as much as we can.
What if we did half instead of the full deal with Beeville, since the city's kicking in?
Yeah, and the city's, I believe the city's commitment is much greater than it's much greater than just the little piece that they're looking at for us. I don't know if they're asking, I don't know if the $63,000 is 63,000 that they spent, 63,000 that they spent 50% of, and DEA spent half of. And so I don't know if our matching is 15,750 or 30,000 or what. But if they spent 63,000, 25% of that is 15,750. What the total amount is. I've got another copy. The total would be 125,556.5 if we were to fund them fully. So.
Yeah.
We got about
125,
126,000, we got about 75,000 to spend, so to speak.
It's closer to 80,000.
Yeah.
Closer to 80,000. It was 79,000.
Okay, let's talk, let's,
79,000.
you'll round it up to 80.
Yeah. I would.
We got 80,000 to spend, good.
So in my rudimentary math, I'm showing 63.71 or 72%. We could fund proportionately speaking, we could apportion that money at the rate of 63.72% across all five.
That way it's all fair to everybody.
Mm-hmm. April? You just open this agenda item on.
Yes.
I
I just, I mean, whatever numbers come out, I mean, it just sounds all the,
No, and I understand, and if I think we all share that niggling doubt in the back of our head that this could, we don't want to put the county in a unreasonable, untenable situation by trying to support our ISPs like that.
You know, the other
and we
side
want
of the
to,
coin-
of course we want
The other
to.
side of the coin, Judge, it's taxpayer money, correct? These are all people that pay taxes. If we have to wind up eating some of this, I think it's still in the benefit of the taxpayer. And I'd make a motion that we do the 63 point,
Give
7?
Give or
take.
take. I'll let April do, April will make the real
And
numbers.
allocate it on a percent basis to the people that have asked for the money.
Yeah, April did that to.
Out of 80,000.
Yeah, out of 80,000, we're gonna use 80,000 as our number. With that percent going to each.
80,000 is receiving on.
That's correct, at this point in time. And it'll go to these, according to their request on a percent basis. And the percent is the same for all of them. That's my motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? So, just so we're all clear, just so the record's clear, we're interpreting the request as being a commitment of $5,662.50. Skidmore Time In being a request for $27,883. Pawnee ISD submitting a request for $44,575. St. Mary's submitting a request for $31,686.14. And the BISD submitting a request or limited request on connectivity expenses only of $15,750 for a total amount of $125,556.50, for which we're going to, the motion is to fund at the rate of 63.72%, or the number as the actual math comes out. So Ms. Cantu may adjust that number a little bit up or down depending on how the actual numbers work out.
Yes, sir.
And spending $80,000. Not to exceed
At this point in time,
$80,000.
unless something comes up between now and the time we do it. Yeah. That's my motion, sir.
That'll be my second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Thank you, gentlemen. I know these are difficult decisions and they come with some risk, but I know the ISPs appreciate it.
Yeah.
But again, they're in the interest of the taxpayers and the school district.
They are.
I think it's a meaningful.
That's
Yes,
what we're
sir.
here for.
And you will notify the schools today, I guess.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I feel very good about it.
Thank
And
you.
you'll be on that committee.
Oh, great.
He's like, don't
I
remind
like
me.
being on committees. It's fun to get to learn how to kind of.
Absolutely, it's a quick learning session.
So you're gonna get on a historical committee, are you?
No, sir, that's Commissioner DeWitt.
DeWitt.
I don't wanna,
No, no, no.
I don't wanna step on anybody's
Yeah,
toes.
I will take that one.
can't take that away.
That was mine. I don't want anybody getting on my turf.
Yeah, no, that's all you, wow. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everybody in the audience, for all your time and commitment today. This was a good meeting. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.